going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we chop, slice, and one little stab right in the gut. Where we chop it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I'm TwoTone's the artist.
And I'm Mitch the Peach.
So we've been out for a few weeks, as some of you may have noticed. Been busy, some vacations, a wedding. I did get married, and Mitch came down to Atlanta to be there for the wedding, which was awesome. Yeah. But we are back. We've been playing some games. I'm ready to talk about what's been going on. So anyway, pull up a seat. Let's get into it. Mitch, I think we got some listener comments that we want to check out today.
Yeah, we are overdue on the listener comments, so we've got some here, some good ones. Let's just kick it off. I want to give a shout out to our good loyal listener Tyler. He gave us a nice description on what Pokemon Bank is, because in an earlier episode we were quite confused on what the heck is Pokemon Bank.
Well, I don't even remember what we were talking about that brought up Pokemon Bank.
It was the 3DS Wii U shut down, I believe.
Yeah, they were shutting down the 3DS
online
shop.
Services.
And weren't they shutting down the online for all the multiplayer in the 3DS too? Okay, but then there was some little note saying that they were keeping the Pokemon shop open, of all things. And yeah, we didn't know what that was.
Yep.
So what is it then?
Good lead-in. Yes, that was they were keeping the Pokemon Bank, and so Tyler goes, "Thanks for the shout-outs on the episodes. Pokemon Bank was essentially the first online cloud storage app that allowed Pokemon trainers to store their Pokemon from most of the games all in one location. In 2020, Pokemon came up with a new cloud service app that's a successor to Pokemon Bank called Pokemon Home. However, Pokemon Home is not compatible with Pokemon games that aren't available on the Switch or mobile phone, which is Pokemon Go. That being said, you can use Pokemon Bank to transfer Pokemon from most of the older games to Pokemon Home. I say most because you're unable to transfer Pokemon from Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games to Home. There are digital games on the 3DS and Switch that let you get around that. Granted, they technically aren't real games / hardware from your childhood. All that being said, once Pokemon Bank goes down, we'll essentially be unable to transfer Pokemon from the DS and older digital Pokemon games on the DS to the Pokemon Switch / Pokemon Home. This is why you've seen a lot of remakes of older games on the Switch. Older games being available on Nintendo Switch Shop, so you could play those games and those Pokemon from those gems moving forward. At the end of the day, though, it sucks since we'll eventually be locked out of transferring Pokemon from your childhood to modern systems."
Dang.
That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of transferring from multiple, but it's cool that they had the, Pokemon lovers had the option to keep those Pokemon and bring them into, your newer games.
Yeah. And Tyler, that was a really good explanation. Thank you for typing all that out. I appreciate that. But I mean, it almost reminds me of just like backwards compatibility. Like, to me, it's so cool to just have that interconnectivity across console generations. And it sounds like that's what this was for Pokemon. Because really, at heart, Pokemon is a collecting game. So by having a service like this, you're allowing people to maintain their entire collection across generations of console games. So I think especially for Pokemon, having this feature or having this service makes sense and is really cool. Because it sucks just sinking like tens, if not hundreds of hours into a Pokemon game, collecting all these Pokemon, and then having to completely start over when the next game comes out.
Yeah, and then I think on top of that, like, I remember me playing like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue as a kid. Like, I like named my Pokemon certain things. Like, you like grow attached to like the Pokemon that you took along the journey to get all the badges. Like, So it's kind of cool. You can be like, yeah, I'm bringing my Charizard along with me to the next game, and like, I don't know. It seems kind of cool that you can, you have that affinity toward one Pokemon from one game, and you can, it makes you feel like you brought him along the journey.
Yeah, and even in a simpler sense, I always thought it was cool when sequels to games would scan your save data on your system to see if you'd played the previous game, and if you had, it'd either let you maybe transfer your character over, or even just give you some special unlock, just as a gift for seeing that, hey, thanks for playing the original game, and now you're playing the sequel to it.
Yep, that is pretty nice. It was like I know it's like Mass Effect. When I played all the Mass Effects back in the day, like
that's what that's the one I couldn't think of what game I had read that about. Is Mass Effect, yeah.
Yeah, Mass Effect would like look at your choices that you made from the previous game and like the relationships you built with those characters, and then like essentially like it would put all that, take all that information, and then it would like put you in the world like you hadn't left the first game. It's pretty cool.
That's super cool, yeah. Anyway, that sounds complicated to code up, but thank you.
Yeah, I can't imagine the work that has to be done on that, but props to them.
Yeah, for figuring that out. All right, what's the next comment we got?
Yeah, a bit of a different one. We haven't talked about this game, but our good buddy John was asking if we've covered or played the game Blasphemous. He said it looks cool and up our alley.
I have not played this, but I did see, aren't they coming out with a sequel for it? Or maybe a sequel just dropped?
I think so. Oh yeah, I just Googled it and Blasphemous 2 comes out. Let me look at the Steam shop. It came out August 24th, 2023. So yes, it came out very...
Oh, so the sequel is already out?
Yes, it is already out. But it looks very much Metroidvania style, I would say. A cool art style side scroller.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer for the original game. Yeah, I've heard of this game, but I never played it.
I've not either. I think I've seen like maybe one of them on Game Pass, and that I've always like considered it, but I might have to give it a shot for old Johnny boy.
It does look pretty cool. John, have you played this? Or did you just spot it and say it looked cool? If you played it,
has about
John, if you played it, how many hours did it take you to beat it? Is it some crazy long game? Because then no, I'm not going to play it if it's like 50-hour campaign. But yeah, let us know. Do you recommend it? Is the real question. Because I played what was the other game? Slain Back from Hell, and it kind of looks like that to me. And that game was okay. This one looks like it has a little...
The second one has very positive reviews on Steam.
It's a brutal action platformer with skilled hack-and-slash combat set in the nightmare world of Custodia. Explore, upgrade your abilities, and perform savage executions on the hordes of enemies that stand between you and your quest to break eternal damnation.
Oh, man. Give that person who wrote that a raise. Just well done.
Yeah, and right now it's 75% off on Steam, so it's $6.24.
Oh, hey.
Not bad.
Well, thanks for writing that in, John. We will, if any of us try it, we will report back, and yeah, let us know if you played it. Moving along, because we got lots to talk about. A couple responses talking about, I've been putting some questions in at the end of our episodes on Spotify. People have been writing in, love that. I asked everyone if they'd like to see a Guitar Hero return. And our good boy Swanee, one of my best friends, he goes, "Yes, I've heard about this and would enjoy seeing it come back. Loved playing Guitar Hero 2 on my PS2." And one more from Marshall, who I think is someone who is on our Instagram that follows us. That is has their own podcast as well, Chatsumi, I believe. But if it's not the right person, I apologize. They go, "Yes, that would be awesome and great too. Yay!" So I agree. I would love some more Guitar Hero.
Yeah, and honestly I think this is a good time to interject about what we did after the wedding. So I did have an awesome wedding. It was great having so many of the family members come down to Atlanta to attend. And the day after the wedding, we had a great brunch with a bunch of people that came into town. And then Mitch and Claire, their flight was not till what? Was it 8:30 p.m. or something?
Yep.
So yeah, we had some time. So I was like, come on over, man. Let's play some Rock Band. Let's play some Guitar Hero. And I had just picked up a drum set. So I already had the guitars for everything, but I didn't have the microphone. I didn't have the drums. So I found somebody on Facebook Marketplace selling a drum set for actually a decent price. I was going on eBay and everybody was selling the drum sets for like $170 on the cheapest. And oftentimes I was not including shipping. And these are big drum kits, so the shipping itself was like $30 or $40 on top of that. Too much. I'm not paying that much for the drums. But a guy was selling a really good condition Guitar Hero 5 drum kit on Facebook Marketplace for $50. So I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I hit him up, went and picked it up, and we'll have to have another conversation about all the different drum kits, because it's I just wanted to get online and have somebody tell me what is the best drum kit to get. Like, just tell me what's the best one, and I'll get that one. And of course, there's no just clear-cut answer. You got the Guitar Hero fanboys saying this drum kit's the best. You got the Rock Band fanboys saying this drum kit's the best. And then there was a drum kit that was released that's essentially like an actual professional MIDI drum kit that was like ridiculously expensive when it came out, and it's still ridiculously expensive because not a lot of people bought it. It was for like the true enthusiasts, I get. So you had people like swearing by that one. And at the end of the day, I'm like, look, I just need a drum kit. I just need the cheapest one I can find. I'm sure when it really comes down to it, there's not that much difference between all these drum kits. But you, the listeners, if you guys know what is the ultimate drum kit I should have gotten, let me know. So, because if there's a better one, I'll keep an eye out for it.
From my experience, I think I told you this before you purchased one, as long as you got one that wasn't the original Rock Band drum set, you were all good. Because I had the original Rock Band drum set, and it just did not register as well as the later models. And
I will say, online, from what I was reading, yes, unanimously, people were saying do not get the Rock Band 1 drum kit. So yes, I think at the end of the day, as long as I didn't get that one, I'd be good. But anyway, so it couldn't have come at a better time, because Mitch, your favorite instrument for Rock Band Guitar Hero is the drums, because if our listeners don't know, Mitch is a drummer, and unlike the plastic guitars, the drum kits are actually translate much closer to playing real drums. So yeah, here we are like a week later. You were in town after the wedding, and we jammed on some Rock Band. And ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that Mitch is a drummer, because I looked over, this guy was locked in, just like perfect rhythm. I could hear the beat. I'm playing the guitar, listening to the TV to stay on beat, but then after a while, I'm like, I just got to listen to him clanking and banging on these plastic drums, and I can keep the beat from that. All right. But yeah, we rocked it out, man. We played the Green Day Rock Band, which is total classic, and then we switched over to the Beatles Rock Band, which is absolutely a classic.
Yeah, I felt bad for your wife and your dogs because they were trying to take a nice nap, and I'm just over here playing and
so yeah, I mean,
all the noise.
I've never played Rock Band with somebody on the drums, and dude, it is so loud. It's just because it's not a real drum kit, so you're not getting like the pleasant sounds of a real drum kit. You're getting somebody banging on plastic, so it's just like clack, 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 chuck, chuck, boom, boom, clack, clack, clack. On beat, mind you. It's a nice little rhythm, but yeah, it's not like making a pleasant noise when you're banging on that fake drum kit.
No. Well, the interesting thing about the one that you bought is I had to adjust because it actually has a hi-hat which is cool because it's like it really resembles like a real drum set, like you're hitting a hi-hat. But like in the old ones, like I had the Beatles Rock Band drum kit, and that one didn't have hi-hats, or like it didn't use them for, you just use four, like the four, I guess, like little pads in front of you and hit instead. So like you're maintaining a beat, but like the one you have actually makes it seem like you're playing drums with your, like you're tapping the hi-hat and then you're hitting the snare drum. So I like the one that you got.
Nice. I'll try it out, but I am by no means a drummer.
Yeah, it helps if you have a little actual drumming experience. Shout out to my dad for forcing me to pick an instrument, and I went with the drums.
All right. When I have children, they're learning an instrument, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I'm glad my dad did that, because it's just nice to show off. Even nowadays, I haven't played drums very long, but it's like riding a bike. You just get back on, and then you're just mixing away and doing your thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice. All right, so transitioning back over to the
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it away. Back to the we got a couple more. These are going way back. This is when we were talking about Starfield. So this is a few episodes back at this point. I asked the question if you've enjoyed Starfield as much as other Bethesda RPGs, because I know there are a lot of comments out there that, they're kind of mid on Starfield compared to other ones. Our good buddy Swanee just goes, yes, I put about 16 hours into Starfield. I'm loving the faction storylines and the main story. Definitely enjoying it as much as the Fallout and Elder Scrolls series. And I agree, Swanee. I burned through that game and beat it really quick. I'm not a big space fan, like shows, movies. Like I'm not a big Star Wars guy. Like I'm not huge into space stuff, but I enjoyed Starfield quite a bit, and I also really liked the faction storylines a lot. It was better than the main storyline. It was kind of hit or miss on the main story, but like the faction stuff, the side quests that you could do along your journey was really cool. And yeah, I agree. I've enjoyed it, and it does make me want to go back and play Fallout, though. That's kind of my that's my favorite Bethesda series. And then one more. I asked another question. What do you play on your mobile device, if anything? We were talking on an earlier episode about mobile gaming. And Swanee, again, thank you for he told me recently that he's learned that you can actually comment on Spotify, so he is going through the episodes and commenting. He just goes, I don't play on mobile devices, but I've always loved playing my 3DS and Switch. Shout out to the PSP from the past. And yeah, PSPs were great. I think Swanee, actually, I gave you my old PSP, and you gave me, I think, Fallout 3 with all the DLC on it or something. Like we did a trade, because I was like over having my PSP for the time being. So
I didn't know. If you told me that you had a PSP, I forgot. So you had a PSP growing up?
I had a PSP growing up, yeah.
What games did you have for it?
Oh my gosh, I don't think I had too many. I got it like before we went on like vacation. We had a long drive ahead of us, and my buddy Connor had a PSP, and I was like, I'm a kid. I'm like, Mom, I have to have a PSP because Connor has a PSP and he's coming with us on this vacation, so we have to both have one. So we like stopped at Walmart and got one before on the way. And
wow, dang, your mom fell for that? She's like, okay, I'll get you a PSP then. Yeah.
Shout out to my mom. I think I know I played there's a good NBA game on there that I played a lot of. But other than that, I really don't remember what else I played on that. It's kind of like, it's a blur to me. I don't think I had it for too long.
Interesting. So was the NBA game like the first game you got with the PSP?
Yep, I think it was the only game I had like when I first got the PSP. Like she took me to the store and I got the PSP and I got the one game, and I did like an entire franchise, like like 84 games like on that PSP, and it was a lot of fun. Like I really liked that NBA game. What is the NBA game called?
Yeah, I'm curious which one that was. PSP. It's crazy how many games the PSP had, and like big hitters too. Like it had a bunch of NBA games. It had like NFL Madden on it. Had a bunch of the wrestling games on it. It had a lot of the huge sports franchises that typically were on the actual home consoles. It had a lot of portable versions of those.
I'm trying to NBA PSP games. I thought it was named something like different than like just like NBA 07 or something like that. I thought it was like there was like another name with it, but maybe I'm tripping. I can't.
And actually, we had talked about the Street games on the last episode. I know the PSP had an NFL Street, and it might have had an NBA Street as well. But it's just crazy how many of those franchises got PSP versions. Like, that was actually a really, really well-supported console by all the publishers. And
yeah, I'm looking at all like the just basketball games that they put on this. They have it's literally titled the 11 best basketball games for PSP, and yeah, they put a lot of them on here.
That's what I'm saying. The PSP library is huge. It's just crazy to me because I only knew one person that had a PSP, but apparently is a successful console because yeah, they were just releasing games like crazy for it.
I think it was NBA 06, I want to say is what it was. It's got Ray Allen on the cover. That looks right.
Okay. So you don't remember any other game on that console other than that basketball? No. No wonder you traded it, man.
I don't think I had enough games on it. That's the reason why I traded it. I was like, I don't even like, I think it was just collecting dust because they only had one game on it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I played a PSP, like I said, I knew one kid that had it. I mean, we were in high school when that was released, and it blew me away. He was playing Need for Speed on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing on a handheld. Because before that, I had a Game Boy Advance. So you're going from like 2D Game Boy Advance, like kind of graphics equivalent to like a Super Nintendo or something, and next thing you know, I got a PSP in my hand that's playing Need for Speed, and it looks amazing. It's pretty much like on par with PlayStation 2 games, and that was released right when the PS3 came out. So yes, we had the PS3 that had just set the new bar for home console graphics, but the fact I was playing something that looked as good as a PS2, the just previous generation, on a handheld was crazy to me. And he had one of the wrestling games on there too, and even that I'm just like, holy crap, this is really, really impressive. But that was the only time I played it. So I like tried out those two games just once. Like, he had brought his PSP over, and then I played it for maybe like 45 minutes. And then it was only a couple years ago that I picked up a PSP for real cheap at a half-price Books. Maybe like, I don't know, like 40 or 50 bucks I paid for it. And because at that time I found out you could mod them because it had been out for so long. So of course somebody figured out how to jailbreak them and mod them. And so yeah, I picked it up and I was just blown away. Because even the user interface and the menus kind of work like a PlayStation 3, and you can connect to the internet. And I'm thinking this whole time, I'm like this came out way back when, and like, I don't know, when did the PSP come out? 2004 or something?
I'm gonna say I got NBA 06, and I feel like I was at least a couple years into lifespan, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to know when it came out.
I was really into the connecting it online, like using the web browser on that thing, and like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was so cool.
And that's what I'm getting at. Okay, so it came out in December 2004 in Japan, but in North America, March 2005.
Okay.
So yeah, the fact that it had like Wi-Fi connectivity and like a web browser and a portable console back in 2005? What? Man, that thing was crazy ahead of its time.
Yeah, now Sony fans are just upset because they released that, as we've talked about on the podcast, they released that little handheld PS5 thing, but it's really only something that like is like mirrors like what you're doing on your TV. It's just but you can't like take it out the house and play it without the console there. So people are like, Sony's doing the most to just not create a PlayStation P or PS Vita successor.
Yeah, and it's only recently did it dawn on me that what you're talking about is called the PlayStation Portal, which is PSP, PlayStation Portal. So only recently did I make that connection. I'm like,
I didn't know that.
I'm like, it's got to be a nod to the PlayStation Portable. Because it's all, it's It's also PSP. Yeah, I looked at the reviews that like IGN and some other publications put out on it, and it's totally a luxury item. Like, yeah. Yes, there's no denying it's cool, but it is totally not necessary.
No, I think it could be good. Like I've got a buddy who listens to the pod, Brad. He just recently, him and his wife had a kid, and he's like, this could be good for me because, you know, I can use this like while I'm taking care of my kid, or, you know, or something like that. Like, or like I'm out of the room, like I'm not near the TV or something. So yeah, definitely a luxury item, but it has some uses. But like, come on, Sony, just make a completely portable thing again. I wonder if they just never profited off the other ones they did, and they just don't want to go back into that market.
Yeah, but I mean, man, I know the engineers at Sony could make an incredible handheld.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, because the PSP was incredible. The PlayStation Vita, I still use regularly. I love it, and it also, you can stream your PlayStation 4 to your PS Vita, just like you can stream your PlayStation 5 to this new PlayStation Portal. And yeah, that is kind of why the PlayStation Portal seems like a step back, because the PlayStation Vita could do what the PlayStation Portal does, and it's a dedicated handheld that can run its own games. Yep. So, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
The Switch is not, Nintendo Switch is not like the powerhouse of a PS5. I mean, they should have just taken notes from what, you know, it's great. Like, you know, I play my Switch all the time because I can sit there and dock it and play it on the TV and then take it off and chill in my bed and play the game there. Or I can take it. I took it to Atlanta for your wedding. I'm playing it in our downtime. Yeah, it's great.
Yep. So I think there
is space for handhelds. There is still a market, and there's still people who really enjoy them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like the Steam Deck is pretty bulky. A lot of these new handheld PCs, first of all, they're so powerful they don't get good battery life, which is unfortunate. So you really can't. That limits their portability. And then second of all, they're just so bulky. So speaking of my PlayStation Vita, like I mentioned, I still use that regularly, especially if I travel, because it's smaller than a Switch. It fits in my pocket. And when we went on our honeymoon, yeah, I have my PSP on me, and I'm traveling light, and that is just perfect for gaming, especially on a plane. And as you and I have talked about the Resident Evil series before, I love the Resident Evil games. I've beaten the mass majority of the games in the series. There are only 3 I have not beaten. That's the Resident Evil 4 remake that just came out, and I've started that recently, so I will beat that. Resident Evil Outbreak 2, you and I still need to go and beat that since we beat the first one. And most surprisingly, I've never beat the original Resident Evil. I beat the remake that came out on GameCube, but I never beat the original that came out on the PlayStation 1. And the beautiful thing about the PlayStation Vita is once you mod it, you can actually emulate a PSP on it. So you can play all the PlayStation Vita games, and you have the backwards compatibility of all the PSP games.
I gotta get a Vita. Damn it. Every time we talk about this, I'm like, I gotta get a Vita.
and to go even one layer deeper, the PSP can emulate PlayStation 1 games. So I'm basically playing my PlayStation Vita, emulating a PSP, which is emulating a PlayStation 1. And that allows you to play PlayStation 1 games on your PlayStation Vita. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that onion. Anyway, I'm like, now's the time, dude. I'm about to be on the plane 4 hours to the honeymoon destination, and then at the end of the week, 4 hours back. And I know that Resident Evil, the original game, is probably only like a 7 or 8 hour game. So I'm like, I have no excuse, man. It's time. It's time to do this. So I loaded up the original PlayStation 1 Resident Evil game on my Vita, and I was playing it on the plane, And I had started this game. It's not like I'd never played it before. I remember being 6 years old, renting this game when it first came out, getting to the scene where it shows the first zombie, and being so scared that I had to run up and shut the PlayStation off. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then eventually I work up enough courage to turn it back on, start it over, watch the cool intro movie, play to that scene again, get scared, shut it off again. And then as I got a little older, I played it again and I got farther, but I never finished it. So, yeah, I immediately got sucked in. There is a reason Resident Evil is still around to this day. And there's a reason why even the later games, years later, still redo some of the game mechanics that were established in the original game. Like, it is like the blueprint of survival horror games. And it's incredible. And I'm looking at it on a little screen, so the fact the graphics are dated really don't matter to me. Mm-hmm. And the puzzles are amazing. The story's great. The voice acting is so bad. so bad. I mean, hilariously bad.
Let's say it becomes a time like during those times where like the voice acting is so bad that it's just charming.
It is. I mean, I was laughing out loud at dialogue that I don't think was supposed to be funny. There's one scene in particular that sticks out in my head. I played as Jill Valentine. You can either choose Chris or Jill at the beginning. I went with Jill. So she comes upon another STARS member, which is the member of the police force that Jill is part of, and he's injured, and he's laying on the ground. He just got attacked by a giant snake, so he's like, his whole torso is like bitten with chunks missing, and he's on the verge of death. And then she comes over, and she's like, what happened? Are you okay? And he's like, I'm poisoned, yada yada, watch out, there's a giant snake in the next door. And this guy, all of a sudden, a bunch of blood squirts out of his chest, and he just goes, ouch! And then he dies. I'm like, what? Ouch! Dude, your whole chest is, like, missing. You didn't stub your toe, man. Like, come on, ouch! Oh.
They definitely took that out of the remake.
Yeah, dude, sure. Yeah, the remake, they're like, nah, man. We got to improve on this game. In the first place, we got to start as this script. But yeah, that's just like one example, man. So many of the lines were just so... I'm like, who wrote this? Who did they hire? Like, sorry, man, I don't mean to... If you're the writer of the original Resident Evil, man, I don't mean to bash your work, but dang, dude. What the...
It's kind of similar, and I think it's why they won't do a remake of Code Veronica, but some of the writing in Code Veronica is super goofy as well.
Yeah. I feel like, though, in the later Resident Evil games, they kind of leaned into it, though. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I did end up beating the game, and it was so much fun. I recommend it. It was so hard when I was a kid, but as an adult, the game seemed super easy.
Yeah.
It's always funny when you come back to like movies or games or something as an adult, and then you look at them in a whole different light. Or in this case, it's not as complicated as you thought it was for your younger mind. But yeah, in like all the survival horror games, I'm very, very conservative with my ammo and my health items, and I save all the bigger weapons for the boss battles.
I've learned that from you, for sure. I do the same thing, even in the JRPGs I play.
Yeah, so I got a screenshot that I'm going to throw up on the screen of my inventory right before I went into the final fight with the final tyrant boss. And dude, I am stocked up. Like, tons of grenade launcher ammo, tons of the Magnum ammo, healing items, everything. And then he was so easy to kill. It was like... It was nothing. I killed him like 8 bullets or something. It was like six Magnum rounds and like 2 grenade launcher rounds, and he was dead. The battle lasted all but 15 seconds. I'm like, dude, this whole game I've been stockpiling an arsenal, and this boss is just a pushover. If only I'd known, I would have just been blowing everybody else up. I would have been blowing the zombies up with the grenade launchers instead of saving it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back to your playing on the plane though. I unfortunately cannot play games on the plane. I get really bad motion sickness on planes. I never feel good. The moment the plane takes off, I don't feel good. I think I also don't like being so like packed in and like I get a little bit claustrophobic. Uh, so like when I'm up in the air, I literally just have to like just sit in my chair, put headphones on, listen to a podcast, and just like sit in just feeling crappy the entire time. So because if I try to start playing like something, I won't feel very well. So it's unfortunate on long flights where like I want to take out my Switch and play, but like my body just won't let me.
That's interesting because usually I do get sick. Like if I look at my phone in the car for like 1 second, I'm immediately nauseous.
Oh, yeah.
But for some reason, and roller coasters make me nauseous. Everything makes me nauseous. But yeah, for some reason, I can stomach being on a plane and playing games.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish my body could be better with.
Yeah, so I ended up beating that before we even flew back from the honeymoon. So
oh wow, nice.
I had also brought my wife's gaming laptop, and I wanted to play some games on that on the flight because I was playing them at the hotel or the Airbnb when we were on vacation. Which is funny because I had a little setup where it's already a big laptop. It has a 17-inch screen, so it's got a good size screen. And then the Airbnb had like a 20-inch television. So I don't even know why I bothered, but I had the HDMI plugged into the Airbnb TV just so I could get a slightly bigger screen. I guess it was worth it. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, on the plane, I'm like, all right, I got the laptop charged. I got my Xbox controller. The plane had outlets too.
I love when they have outlets.
So I'm like, why not? Why not, man? I'll bust out the laptop. So I'm in this, like you said, the seats are so tight in planes where these airlines are they're trying to cram as many chairs in these planes as they possibly can to maximize profits. So what that means for you as somebody on the plane, you got no room. So I bring down my tray, slide it out, put this big 17-inch laptop on the tray. I'm like in the laptop, like it's up against my chest and the tray, and I literally have to have the controller like under the tray because there's just no room. And I get it all set up.
Your wife's looking at you just like,
yeah, I'm looking ridiculous, man. It's just like I'm over there looking like I'm trying to do too much. So I get it all set up, and I plug it into the outlet, and I start playing a game, and it's running like crap. Like the same game I was playing at the Airbnb, getting like perfect frame rates, great resolution. It is just not running well, and I'm like, what is going on? So what it was is that, like these Steam Deck and all these other handhelds and stuff, and like a lot of gaming laptops, they will not run at full power when they're unplugged. Like if it's going off the battery, it's going to throttle the performance because otherwise you're going to burn through the battery in like 20 minutes if it's just running the graphics card and everything at full power. So I knew that, but the reason I did not think that was the issue is because I had it plugged in. But I looked down, and yeah, when I shut the game off, the charger, it was not showing it charging. And then I looked down at the outlet, and normally the outlets, they'll have a green LED on them to let you know when the plane is providing power to it. The green LED was off. So I unplugged it, the green LED came on, I plugged the laptop back in, it shut off. So literally the plane was not providing power because they probably have like a limit to how much power can be drawn from the outlet. So really all that outlet is good for is like charging your phone or something. Like it's not going to power a laptop. Like as soon as you start drawing too much power, it's just going to cut off.
Yeah.
So I was like, crap. So there I was like spending all this time getting this set up, like looking ridiculous. And then I'm just like putting everything away. And my wife's like, what happened? I thought you were going to play the game. I'm like, I can't, man.
That's sad, man. All that effort and
all that effort for nothing. And anyway, that's why I'm just going to stick to my PlayStation Vita on the plane from now on.
There you go.
But yeah, so speaking of gaming on my honeymoon, so we went to Sint Maarten, which is an island in the Caribbean. There's actually two halves of the island. There's Saint Maarten, which is the French-owned side, and then there's Sint Maarten, which is the Dutch-owned side. So we stayed on the Dutch side, and absolutely beautiful island. And the vacation just went so smooth, man. But it was a great place to visit. But I always like to envision myself actually living at the place I'm vacationing. So I go, could I live here? And probably not. It's a small island with about 80,000 people living on it. So it is a bit crowded. And there is always the constant threat of hurricanes. And they were actually hit by a hurricane back in 2017. And only recently has the island really started to be rebuilt from the damage that was done from that hurricane.
Yeah, they weren't just hit, they were demolished.
Yes, several islands in the Caribbean were just buildings just demolished. People lost homes. Like it was a horrible hurricane.
But I told my mom that's where you were going, and because that's like their like number one vacation spot. They love it there, and she was so excited for you both. They're like, oh, she's like, they're gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we did love it. We had the Airbnb was right on the beach. It was a small apartment, but had everything we needed, and just had this nice porch that literally you're right on the beach. And it was pretty private there. There was not a lot of people on that beach, and yeah, just nice. Everything, just lush greenery. The water is so blue; it doesn't even look real. It was just, man, it was amazing. Tycho, you okay, man, over there choking?
Get it out, Tycho. You got to
get it out, man. But yeah, so yeah, it was a wonderful vacation. The only caveat being that they have tons of mosquitoes. And they're like super mosquitoes. They're way worse than the ones in Atlanta. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. It's you can't even kill them. They're like Terminator mosquitoes, and we got eaten alive. We got the citronelle candles, we got the off bug spray, we got the afterbite care. It didn't matter, man. Nothing. I mean, we both came home with about 100 bites on us each, and it was just brutal. But we put up with it because we definitely wanted to be on a beach, and we can get past that. It's not not going to ruin the vacation, but we were definitely itchy when we were out there.
But it goes against your wanting to live there, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just another thing. I'm like, I don't know about it, man. I got hurricanes. It's crowded. Mosquitoes, like super mosquitoes.
Super mosquitoes.
But anyway, one thing I noticed on this island is there are no video game stores. And there's really not a lot of... There's no like big... As far as I could tell, there was no big like Walmart or Target or anything like that would even have like video games at all.
Retail priced games, yeah.
Yeah. There were a few small like mom and pop computer stores. And but yeah, me walking around checking out stores, I didn't see any video games. Maybe a couple consoles at like a pawn shop. We drove by one pawn shop that had like, PS5 in the window or something. But, living on an island, everything has to be imported. And depending on the situation, you might be paying duties, or you're paying a much larger shipping cost.
Yep.
And so it's just hard to get physical anything there. There's just that extra cost of we have to have it imported. So I know, like, I'm totally a champion for, everything should be physical, man, because then you actually own it. Like, I love physical games, but if I were to ever live on an island, physical games are just not practical. And I think, and I'd love to hear from our listeners, if anybody lives on an island, like, what do you do for gaming? Because in my mind, the most practical thing would be to have a PC, a gaming PC, or even like an all-digital Xbox Series S or something. And because I just feel like that would be the way. That you would just get a gaming PC and then just all digital would be perfect for you if you live on an island. Right. So you don't have to worry about crazy shipping costs, games being hella expensive because they have to be imported to the island. So I think in the situation of people who live on islands, it is much more practical to embrace the digital age and digital distribution of video games. And I just think that's the way to go there.
Yeah, and I think it's nice for people in that scenario these days because, you can get any sort of game digitally at your fingertips in one click of a button, and you're downloading you're off to the races like this. So that is nice. That definitely saves a lot of money, like you said, with the shipping costs and just getting that imported to the island.
Yeah, because I've been and things are just way more expensive on an island, period. And the beautiful thing today is you can get a nice gaming PC for relatively cheap. Even these cheaper PCs are powerful enough to run all the modern games. So yeah, it's more. I think that's probably even more practical than getting a console. Is just get a gaming PC, and then you're set. You got your computer, you got your gaming console all in one, and then you can just get stuff digitally. And I've been watching a listing on Amazon because I've been wanting to pick up a PlayStation 4 copy of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Mm-hmm. And that listing has been just fluctuating. It's crazy how the price of things on any market fluctuates. But one day I'd look at it and it'd be like $40. The next day it's back up to $60. The next day it's down to $50. So I've been eyeballing it. And I'm like, hey man, when this dips again back down to like 40 or less, I'm gonna pick it up. And when I was on the island, I went to check the listing. And of course, Amazon picked up that I was on Sint Maarten. So it was like, first of all, I was like, do you want to change your currency from USD to, I think it's NAF that they have in Sint Maarten, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, no, leave it on USD. But it said under the listing, it was going to be $30 for customs and shipping to get it to Sint Maarten.
Wow.
So all of a sudden that $50 game then becomes $80. And $50 to me is already a lot for a game. $80 for one game. So yeah, you're paying a lot just to bring in an actual physical copy of a game. And another interesting thing I noticed is while I was on the island, YouTube does not have ads.
Oh.
About 2 days in, I was like, you know what? I haven't seen a single ad on YouTube, and it's crazy because usually I see like 1,000 ads on YouTube, and I wonder why that is. So I don't really know the definitive answer, but at least what I read online is if there's not a huge, basically it's like, do the advertisers think it's worth the money to advertise in certain areas?
Right, because it's all targeted, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so nobody's targeting Sint Maarten for ads, so there's just no ads. And it was great. It was so nice, like not having to pay for like the YouTube premium, but yet I'm still getting an ad-free experience just because I'm where I'm located when I'm watching my YouTube videos. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's neat.
I noticed that. Anyway, man, I've been blabbering on for quite a while, but I wanted to cover the stuff that I noticed on my honeymoon. Yeah. Is there any thoughts or any input on island living, island gaming, any other topics that you might want to cover?
No, I like living in a city. I like living, places where there's multiple local game stores and free shipping, and my Amazon gets here in sometimes like 24 hours. After I order something, it's already at my door. So like, I like the convenience of it as much as I do like visiting these beaches and islands for some vacation time. But then you get back home and I'm like I like the convenience of a big city.
I agree, and another thing, living in a big city, we take for granted how cheap our food is. Because same situation, on an island, everything, again, has to be imported in. So when we went to just like the grocery stores, everything was way, way, way more expensive to eat. Like what would normally be like maybe an $80 grocery bill here was like twice that. in Sint Maarten. And I'm looking at stuff that, in Atlanta is like just a couple bucks, like a bag of chips. I'm looking at a bag of chips. In Atlanta, that's $3 tops for a big bag of chips. And then it was $6 to $7 for a tiny bag of chips.
I had a friend who was in Hawaii, and they went to the grocery store to get some like milk. I think was like $20 for a gallon of milk.
So, I wouldn't be able to make it. I love milk, dude. I drink like a gallon a day. Yeah, I had to be
That's
real
like
choosy.
A subscription service for you at that point.
What'd you say?
It's like a subscription service for you just to get your milk at that point.
Pretty much. But anyway, I had to be real choosy about what we ate because it's crazy how expensive it is, man. Mm-hmm. Another reason why I don't think island life living is for me. I definitely want to live on a beach someday, but maybe not necessarily an island. But yeah, man, that wraps it up with everything I wanted to go over. Any last words on anything we covered today?
No, I think we're good. Are we running a little over? Do we want to hit the last one, or we want to the shutdown of my beloved site?
Oh crap! Yeah, I totally skipped over that.
It's all right. You were doing a really good segue into something else we were talking about, so it made total sense at the time.
All right.
We can go quick with it. I just want to cover it a little bit.
Okay.
Just to get out the way, because this is pretty recent news. This was article I'm looking at was published on the 13th, so 5 days ago from this recording. But I also didn't know that Activision Blizzard, I guess, owns Major League Gaming, which makes sense as to why this news is coming out now with Microsoft taking on Activision Blizzard. There have been some cuts and whatnot, and Major League Gaming has taken a cut with the beloved site called GameBattles closing down. I believe it's closing down January 15th, 2024. So for those who don't know, GameBattles was the old way, and still current way, I guess, of basically competing in almost like a ladder style tournament on specific games that they have. So it's become really popular with Call of Duty as the years have gone by. But when I was a kid, my friends and I, who were really competitive in Halo 3, we created a GameBattles team, and we would compete in that a lot. And it pretty funny to play with my friends on that. We had a team name called the Lyndhurst Boys, which was the neighborhood that we all grew up in, and there's a few friends of us that we would get together and play a lot of Halo 3 game battles. And the screenshot Mike will share, it's very hard to see, but we were actually ranked number 1 on the ladder for a certain amount of time. But the funny part is, with game battles, is to find a match, you have to basically go through the web browser and you have to post that you're looking for a match, and then they will match you with another team based on your record, skill set, whatnot. And you had to like invite them or like add their gamer tag, and then like invite them to a custom lobby and put all these settings in place that the Game Battles site wanted you to do. So for Halo 3, there was like a Major League Gaming set of rules and for each game mode. So you would have to, as the host, you would set up the rules based on that, and you would play a set of 3, a best of 3 against another team, and the Game Battles site would give you what maps, what game modes, and you would essentially report it on their site saying if you won or lost. And like you would basically say, we won round 1, map 1, they won map 2, we won map 3, and then you put like the scores and whatnot. So it kind of kept track of stats too, like that. So it was really cool. But the funny thing is, we figured out how to game the system after a while.
I mean, it seems pretty exploitable just by the way you explained it.
Very exploitable at that time. So we won a couple games legit at the beginning of a season in the ladder, because they would like it would rotate seasons, probably like monthly. And we're like, okay, so we're really high up right now because the season just started and we're like 2-0 or something like that. So we're just going to start playing people, but then even if we get our butt kicked, we're going to make it, still going to report that we won. And we're just going to dispute it and take fake pictures with, that you can upload pictures and like dispute games if you think the other team is lying, saying that they won. And we would take fake pictures like showing that we were in the game and they never joined the game or something like that, even though we had lost. And they would give us wins to the point where we actually got banned for a while. So.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, that whole system is so exploitable because it's just like an honor system. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not like it's actually linked to the game servers and pulling who actually won based off the game server.
But the funny thing is, like, if like a team was being unreasonable or like you couldn't get a match started or something, they actually had like moderators that you could add that would come in to your custom lobby and like basically just like get the match started. He's like, all right, what's going on, guys? Like, like basically he would just like be the mediator and be like, all right, like this is what's going on. Like if you're not going to play, then we're going to let this other team win because your team member's not here. Your team member's not registered because you had to register each team member. And it took like 24 hours for them to like make the team member active on your squad. So like sometimes people would like join and they would have somebody who's not on their list of players, and we're like, hey, he's not on the list and like he can't play. You got to get your other boy in. And sometimes you had to get the little moderator guy to come in and he was like, yep, he's not active. You can't play. He's out. So
oh my god. This sounds like a hot mess, man. I'm sorry.
I mean, us as like as like high schoolers, I think we're like freshmen in high school, like or even like earlier we played too. Like we thought it was the coolest thing ever, though.
I want to know, were these moderators actually like paid employees, or were they just doing this for free?
I think they had to have been doing it for free, but maybe they were paid. I don't know, but it was always like some older dude that was like telling us little kids like, hey, figure this out. Let's go.
That's hilarious.
It was interesting, but you could tell by the screenshot. You can at least see our stars out of 5 stars because you have like a reputation like that people can like put comments on and say these guys are freaking idiots. And we had a 2 out of 5 because we had our good buddy Tim was on our team, and Tim would just scream at the other team all the time. He would get so animated, and just like after like one round, if we won like map 1 and you go back to the pregame lobby and you can talk to each other, he is just talking so much smack. He's like, you guys suck. He is getting animated, and we're like, calm down, Tim, mute your mic. Come on, man. We'll just get to the next map. Like, so we would get so much bad reputation for that. It was nuts, man. Like it was just the wild west of competitive like gaming, but we wanted something that wasn't just the ranked ladder to play, and that was it. Like that was the thing to go to at that point. So I would have to find a match. I would literally, because I didn't have a laptop or anything, I just had the computer on my dad's house. The computer room was upstairs and I was in the basement. Mm-hmm. So I would have to run upstairs, post that we're looking for a match, run back downstairs, wait for a bit, run back upstairs and go check to see if we had a match yet. And then I had to write down what the maps were, what the game modes were, and then I had to run back down and then tell everybody, I'm like, all right, this is what it is, this is what we're doing. I have to add this guy, his gamer tag, and then we're going to be playing this. So it was a whole process and probably not worth it, but we had so much fun doing it. It didn't bother me one bit.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's just, I think, again, another thing we take for granted today because this was what, Halo 2, Halo 3 you guys were playing?
Halo 3.
Did you guys ever play any other game using GameBattles, or was it just Halo 3?
Yes. For a time, I played Call of Duty 4 with actually my good buddy Swanee, who listens to the podcast. I would fill in and play with them on Call of Duty 4, but I wasn't as good as like the team that they kind of assembled. So I played when they wanted me to, but Halo 3 was my game. And then I would also fill in on Gears of War 1 with my late friend Brian. He was probably the best Gears of War player I have ever seen in my entire life. He was nuts at Gears of War, and like our friends that we would play with on our team like were not as good as him. So he would like single-handedly carry us to wins in that ladder just because he was just insane. And yeah, they actually they got out of school because Major League Gaming was a huge thing at that point, and Major League Gaming would have like different like massive tournaments in certain areas like Columbus and I think like Anaheim and a few other locations that they would do like quarterly, I believe. And I remember him, Brian, my Drew, Malik. There was like 3 or 4 of them, and Adam. They actually got out of school early, and they thought they were the coolest people ever. They're like, "Yeah, we're getting out of school. We're going to Columbus, and we're participating in the Gears of War Major League Gaming tournament." And yeah, they actually went there because I think like I believe like if you played well enough on GameBattles, you would get recognition from Major League Gaming, and you would actually get invited to tournaments. So they actually got to go, and I think they lost in like 3 games, and then they had to go home. But like, but it was probably a cool experience.
Yeah, that is interesting you say that because this article mentions that GameBattles was part of Major League Gaming.
Yeah,
so that totally probably is where they were recruiting people and like finding new talent.
Yeah, it was such a cool idea for its time, but like it was just yeah, it was kind of a messy process, but it was funny when the moderators got involved because my friend Tim, who was very loud and whatnot, he would be screaming at the moderators, and I'm like, dude, man, I'm like, Tim, we're gonna get a loss if you keep yelling, like, stop. But yeah, I didn't realize they were part that Activision Blizzard.
Yeah,
actually.
I do want to read this article. So
yeah, go for it.
Activision Blizzard closes GameBattles as esports division cuts continue. GameBattles is shutting down as Activision Blizzard continues to cut its esports division following the closure of the Overwatch League. On New Year's Eve 2015, it was announced Major League Gaming, one of the biggest esports tournament organizers in the world, had been acquired by Activision Blizzard to build up their esports arm, namely with franchise leagues in Overwatch and Call of Duty. However, 2023 marks the last year of the Overwatch League as Activision Blizzard announced cuts to their esports division, leaving questions up in the air about the future of Overwatch and to an extent Call of Duty esports. Now as the esports winter continues to chill, GameBattles, an iconic community platform and one of the longest-running online tournament organizers, is shutting down as well. And this is from their Twitter account. After careful consideration, we have decided to shut down the GameBattles platform and service as of January 15th, 2024. The shutdown was elaborated on by Chris, who is the operations supervisor of GameBattles and longtime member of MLG. Our team learned yesterday that Activision Blizzard has decided to shut down GameBattles, the last remaining branch of MLG, by mid-January. The entire team at GameBattles has been notified we're all being let go as part of the closure. Chris continued, "This didn't have to happen. There's so much untapped potential with MLG, GameBattles, and the future of esports. I hope one day both MLG and GameBattles get the attention they deserve. Not for me or anyone who worked there, but for the amazing community they created." GameBattles was largely
right there hit me in my feels, man.
GameBattles was largely responsible for the organization of multiple open circuit tier 2 and 3 competitions in CDL Challengers, Warzone, Overwatch, and Call of Duty Mobile for Activision Blizzard. Multiple interested parties have publicly put up offers to salvage the brand, including former MLG head and esports engine founder Adam Apicella. Whether or not Activision Blizzard is interested in selling the property, however, remains to be seen. I mean, I think this is a larger thing where just a lot of esports, which really was peaking around that time with, Halo 3, Gears of War, Call of Duty, and the several years after that, and other games that came out after that, it's been on the decline. At least it sounds like it with MLG division. I'm sure there's other esport organizations that maybe have kind of taken its place as the big leader in it, but it sounds like Activision bought this and then it's just been kind of dwindling.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, MLG was like the name for everything when I was growing up. Like it was Major League Gaming. Like I would see somebody with a Major League Gaming t-shirt like sometimes at school or like, out and about, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like as kids, like we looked up to people that were in Major League Gaming, but since we've grown up, that name brand has like, yeah, they really have not done much with it. And I don't think Activision Blizzard, who whenever they acquired it, did not do anything to bolster it either. Because like this esports scene now is, yeah, the leaders of that are like very different than Major League Gaming, which is sad because it's called Major League Gaming. Like that should be the brand. That should be what, that should be what everybody does. Like just like it's like Major League Baseball. That's what the pros do,
Yeah, it should have been the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB of gaming.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought it was heading years ago. And then now for it to just be closing down.
My friends and I would huddle up on a super small PC at my friend's, like, and because it was the only way you could watch it at that time. There was no YouTube, there was no Twitch. There was YouTube, but it didn't have any sort of live streaming. But we had to go on this Major League Gaming website, and on Friday nights we'd just huddle in front of this computer and we would watch these Halo 3 tournaments that were just amazing. Like they had such good like production and like good commentary, and like it made it look like it was Monday Night Football. Like it was the biggest thing ever. Like you had like brand names like in the Halo 3 scene, like T Squared and Walshy and so much Snipe Down. Like I knew all the names of the players that played on each team in Halo. And nowadays it's like, I know some guys in the Counter-Strike scene, but it was nothing compared to that. Where like these guys who were just some nerdy looking gamers, I thought they were the coolest people in the entire world, man. They really did a good job of advertising the brand and getting brand awareness and like actually like putting faces to these games, and really like made you like want to be just like them.
Yeah. We need that, man. We need role models, we need heroes, we need, because so many people then look at that and they go, that's inspiration. A younger kid comes by and sees that and they're like, wow, I can actually have a career and a path in playing video games and it be regarded as a sport. And yeah. So I don't know. I'm just so out of the loop. Yeah. I knew about Major League Gaming. I have no idea what the esport organizations are nowadays. I couldn't tell you any other ones other than MLG.
They really aren't like they aren't really like a brand name organization. A lot of times there are like specific tournaments. There's ESL is one of them, Esports League. That does a lot of like Counter-Strike stuff, I know. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the main ones right now. But and then there's like Overwatch League was just like its own thing. Like it was just called, it wasn't even like partnered with MLG or anything like that. This is the Overwatch League. So sometimes like they're not even like partnered with like a bigger like league entity within itself. It's just a tournament that we're calling, whatever game we're playing. It's that sort of but then there's a ton of sponsorships and whatnot, because it's as esports as a whole has moved along, they're realizing that there's just not a lot of money in it. Like it's hard to like, I guess, profit a lot from it. So there's a ton of obviously sponsorships to try and get ad revenue. But yeah, I think that's kind of part of why this is shutting down. There's just no money in it.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of articles and interviews saying that same thing, where like team organizers were like, even with the sponsorships and even with the money you get from winning, he's like, we're still in the hole. Like it's not profitable. I remember one guy, I wish I remembered who that was and what interview that was from, but he was like, yeah, I lost like millions of dollars trying to start up an esports team. He's like, there's no money in it. Well, there is money in it, but like I said, you're going to spend more money on your team than they're going to make, which is just I mean, that's not a good business model for anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these like I guess high like popular teams or like that have almost like tried to create their own brand to like make them money. Like FaZe Clan is like a super popular gaming team of sorts, but like they kind of have branched off and they're doing, they're partnering with like clothing brands, and then they're like, partnering with, I don't know, Mountain Dew or something like that. And then they're also doing like just content creation. So it's not, they started as FaZe Clan, as entering tournaments and being gamers, and they've almost turned into like content creation and, apparel and like all these other entities to try and make the company FaZe Clan money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like you have to, if you're going to make a team, you have to, you have to be a name. You have to find a way to make it a name brand and branch off into other areas. That's not just I'm entering and competing in a tournament.
Yeah. All right, man. We've gone way over time.
Yep.
I think we can call it there. Yep. Maybe we could pick up this conversation next episode too, because there's a lot to cover here.
Esports as a whole, I would like to dabble in it more, or to have a bigger discussion on that, because there is a lot to it. It's a crazy world these days.
Yeah, we'll return to this topic for sure. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Where else can they find us, Mitch?
Yep, you can find us on our Twitter at Hills Are Silent. Our Instagram is Instagram/Hills Are Silent. Our TikTok is at the Hills Are Silent Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, I appreciate everybody who wrote in. I'm glad we got to get to those today. Send them to our email inbox, respond to our Spotify, YouTube comments, wherever. We'll find it. But our email inbox is hillsaresilent@gmail.com. We will catch you on the next episode.